The moment you decide to change is the moment your life truly begins. That's not just a pleasant thought or an encouraging phrase. It's the fundamental truth that has transformed millions of lives throughout human history. And yet, so few of us ever make that decision with the conviction necessary to see it through. Look around you. In this room right now sit people of tremendous potential. Each person here possesses capabilities far beyond what they've demonstrated thus far in their lives. That's not flattery. It's a statistical certainty. Research has consistently shown that the average person uses only a small fraction of their mental capacity throughout their lifetime. What holds us back? What invisible chains bind us to mediocrity when greatness calls? The answer lies not in our circumstances, but in our thinking. Your mind, that magnificent instrument you carry with you always, is simultaneously your greatest asset and potentially your most formidable obstacle. The thoughts you think today shape the life you'll live tomorrow, and most of us, without realizing it, have programmed our minds for limitation rather than liberation. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how some individuals seem to attract success effortlessly? They move from achievement to achievement, while others, equally talented and hardworking, struggle to make progress. What separates these two groups isn't luck or privilege or special connections. It's their mental programming, the deeply ingrained patterns of thought that either propel them forward or hold them back. The human mind operates much like the soil in a garden. Whatever seeds you plant will eventually grow. Plant seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation, and your life will produce a harvest of underachievement and frustration. But plant seeds of possibility, determination, and expectancy, and watch as your life blossoms with opportunity and achievement. But that's easier said than done, you might be thinking. I can't simply change the way my mind works overnight. You're right, you can't change it overnight. But you can begin the process of change in an instant, in the moment you make a genuine decision. And from that moment forward, with consistent effort and the right guidance, you can systematically rewire your mind for the success you desire and deserve. What does it mean to rewire your mind? Simply put, it means breaking free from the thought patterns that limit you and establishing new patterns that serve you. It means replacing negative, self-defeating mental habits with positive, empowering ones. It means taking control of your inner dialogue instead of being controlled by it. Think of your mind as a path through a forest. Each time you walk the path, you wear it down a little more, making it easier to travel that same route in the future. Your thought patterns work the same way. Each time you think a certain thought, you strengthen the neural pathway associated with that thought, making it more likely you'll think it again. If you've spent years walking the paths of self-doubt, fear of failure, or limiting beliefs about what's possible for you, those paths have become deeply worn highways in your mind. They've become your default routes, the automatic thoughts you think without even realizing you're thinking them. Rewiring your mind means consciously choosing to walk new paths, to think new thoughts, until those new paths become as familiar and automatic as the old ones once were. Is this process simple? Yes. Is it easy? No. Nothing truly worthwhile ever is. But it is possible. And more than that, it is necessary if you wish to experience the full measure of success and fulfillment available to you. Throughout human history, those who have achieved extraordinary success have understood this principle. They knew that the outer conditions of their lives were merely reflections of their inner thoughts and beliefs. And rather than wasting energy trying to change their conditions directly, they focused on changing the source of those conditions, their minds. Take, for example, the case of a young man who began his career as a salesman during the Great Depression. When most of his colleagues were lamenting the terrible economy and using it as an excuse for poor performance, this man made a different choice. He decided that regardless of external conditions, he would maintain an unwavering belief in his ability to succeed. Each morning before beginning his day, he spent time visualizing successful sales interactions. He repeatedly told himself, "Economic conditions do not determine my success. My thoughts and actions do." While others focused on the obstacles, he focused on opportunities. And the result? In the worst economic climate of the century, he consistently outsold his colleagues by a factor of 5 to 1. Same products, same territory, same economic conditions, but a completely different mindset. And that different mindset produced dramatically different results. Or consider the woman who, after 20 years in a career that provided financial stability but little fulfillment, decided to pursue her passion for teaching. Friends and family warned her about the risks of starting over at her age. They pointed out the practical difficulties, the reduction in income, the uncertainty. But she understood something they didn't. The greatest risk in life isn't taking a chance on your dreams. It's accepting an unfulfilling existence as your fate. She knew that rewiring her mind meant replacing thoughts of, "I'm too old," or "it's too late," with "now is the perfect time," and "my life experience will make me a better teacher." She took the leap. The transition wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt and difficulty. But by maintaining her new thought patterns and refusing to revert to old ones, she persevered. 5 years later, she had not only established herself as a respected educator, but had founded a program that helped mid-career professionals transition into teaching, a program that has since changed thousands of lives. These stories aren't unusual. They're simply illustrations of a principle as reliable as gravity. When you change your thinking, you change your life. But let me be clear about something. Rewiring your mind isn't about denying reality or adopting a blindly positive outlook regardless of circumstances. It's not about affirmations alone or wishful thinking. It's about seeing reality clearly, including its challenges and obstacles, while maintaining an unshakable belief in your ability to overcome those challenges and achieve your goals. It's about recognizing that while you can't control every circumstance in your life, you absolutely can control how you respond to those circumstances. And it's your responses, not the circumstances themselves, that ultimately determine your outcomes. Have you ever wondered why two people can face the same setback with completely different results? One person is devastated, falls into despair, and never fully recovers. The other treats it as a temporary obstacle, learns from it, and emerges stronger than before. The difference isn't in the setback itself, but in how each person thinks about it. One sees failure as proof of personal inadequacy and believes the situation is permanent and pervasive, affecting all areas of life. The other sees failure as specific to this situation, temporary in nature, and a valuable source of information for future success. Same external event, radically different interpretations, dramatically different outcomes. This principle applies not just to how we handle setbacks, but to how we approach life itself. Some people look at the world and see limitation, scarcity, and reasons why they can't succeed. Others look at the same world and see abundance, opportunity, and reasons why they can. Is one group delusional and the other realistic? Not at all. Both are selectively focusing on certain aspects of reality while filtering out others. And here's the crucial point. The aspects of reality you focus on tend to expand in your experience. Focus on scarcity, and you'll find evidence of it everywhere. Focus on abundance, and you'll begin to notice opportunities you previously overlooked. When you rewire your mind for success, you're not changing reality. You're changing which parts of reality you notice and how you interpret what you see. And that change in perception leads to changes in your decisions, your actions, and ultimately your results. But how exactly do you begin this process of mental rewiring? What specific steps can you take to break free from limiting thought patterns and establish empowering ones? The first step is awareness. You cannot change what you don't acknowledge. Most of our thinking happens automatically, below the level of conscious awareness. To rewire your mind, you must first become conscious of your current thought patterns, particularly those that limit you. Start paying attention to your inner dialogue, the running commentary in your head about yourself, others, and the world. When you face a challenge, what's your immediate reaction? When an opportunity presents itself, what thoughts arise? When you consider your goals and dreams, what does your inner voice tell you about your chances of success? Keep a thought journal for 1 week. Several times each day, pause and write down what you've been thinking. Don't censor or judge, just record. After a week, review your entries and look for patterns. You'll likely discover recurring themes, specific limiting beliefs that appear repeatedly. Perhaps you'll notice thoughts like, "I'm not good enough," "I don't have what it takes," "Success is for other people," or "If I try and fail, I couldn't bear the disappointment." These thoughts may feel true to you. You may have thought them so often that you've accepted them as facts rather than interpretations. But here's the liberating truth. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. Your thoughts are not reality. They're your interpretation of reality, and interpretations can be changed. Once you've identified your limiting thought patterns, the next step is to challenge them. Treat them like witnesses in a trial whose testimony you need to cross-examine. What evidence supports this belief? What evidence contradicts it? Is this thought helping me move toward my goals or holding me back? Would I encourage a friend or loved one to think this way? This process of questioning doesn't just happen once, it's ongoing. Each time a limiting thought arises, challenge it. Over time, you'll weaken its hold on you. Simultaneously, you must begin replacing these limiting thoughts with empowering alternatives. This isn't about reciting empty affirmations you don't believe. It's about finding new perspectives that are both positive and credible to you. If you've been thinking, "I'm too old to start something new," you might replace it with, "My experience gives me advantages that younger people don't have." If you've been thinking, "I've never been good with money," you might replace it with, "I'm learning more about financial management every day, and I'm capable of changing my relationship with money." The key is to find replacement thoughts that you can genuinely believe while still stretching your current boundaries. Too much of a stretch, and your mind will reject the new thought as implausible. Too little of a stretch and no growth occurs. This process of thought replacement requires repetition. Remember, your old thought patterns are like deeply worn paths through a forest. To establish new paths, you need to walk them repeatedly until they become as familiar as the old ones. Repetition can take many forms. You might write your new thoughts in a journal each morning and evening. You might create visual reminders, notes on your mirror, your computer, or your phone. You might record them and listen during your commute. The specific method matters less than the consistency of practice, but thinking alone isn't enough. For mental rewiring to be effective, new thoughts must be accompanied by new actions. If you begin thinking, "I am becoming more confident in social situations," but continue to avoid social interactions, the disconnect between your thoughts and your behavior will undermine the rewiring process. Actions serve as powerful reinforcement for new thought patterns. Each time you act in accordance with your new thinking, you provide evidence to your mind that the new thoughts are valid. Each small success strengthens the new neural pathways you're creating. This brings us to another crucial principle of mental rewiring: start small. Many people fail in their attempts to change their thinking because they try to make too big a leap at once. They go from, "I'm terrible at public speaking," directly to, "I'm a world-class orator," and wonder why the new thought doesn't stick. The more effective approach is to take small, manageable steps. If public speaking terrifies you, don't start by trying to address a crowd of thousands. Begin by speaking up more in small group settings, then perhaps giving a brief presentation to a few colleagues, then a longer presentation to a slightly larger group, and so on. Each small success proves to your mind that change is possible and that your new thought patterns are valid. Each small success makes the next step less intimidating. And over time, these small successes compound into remarkable transformations. Remember, too, that mental rewiring doesn't happen in isolation. The people you spend time with, the information you consume, the environment you create for yourself, all influence your thought patterns. To change your thinking, you may need to change some of these external factors as well. Surround yourself with people who believe in your potential and support your growth. Seek out books, programs, and messages that reinforce your new thought patterns. Create physical environments that reflect the person you're becoming, not just the person you've been. And perhaps most importantly, be patient and compassionate with yourself throughout this process. Mental rewiring takes time. There will be days when old thought patterns reassert themselves, when doubts creep in, when progress seems slow. This doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're human. On those difficult days, remember that the path to success isn't a straight line. It's a series of advances and setbacks, breakthroughs and challenges. What matters isn't that you never stumble. What matters is that you always get back up and continue moving forward. Think of it this way. If you were learning to play a musical instrument, you wouldn't expect to master it in a day, a week, or even a month. You'd understand that proficiency requires practice, that mistakes are part of the learning process, and that improvement happens gradually over time. The same is true of rewiring your mind. It's a skill you're developing, perhaps the most important skill you'll ever learn. Give it the time and patience it deserves. As we continue our exploration of mental rewiring, I want you to consider a question. What would be possible for you if the thoughts that currently limit you were replaced with thoughts that empower you? What goals would you pursue? What risks would you take? What kind of life would you create? The possibilities are greater than most of us dare to imagine. When you free yourself from the prison of limiting beliefs, you unlock potential that has been dormant within you all along. Now let's delve deeper into specific strategies for rewiring your mind. Practical approaches you can begin implementing today. One of the most powerful techniques for mental rewiring is visualization. Your mind responds to vivid mental images as though they were real experiences. When you consistently visualize yourself succeeding, performing confidently, or handling challenges effectively, you're essentially giving your brain a blueprint to follow. Olympic athletes have used this technique for decades. A study of Olympic medalists found that over 90% used visualization as part of their training regimen. They don't just visualize the outcome, winning the gold. They visualize the entire process in rich, multisensory detail. They see themselves executing their routine perfectly, feel the movements in their body, hear the sounds of the venue, even smell the chlorine in the pool or the ice in the rink. This isn't wishful thinking, it's mental rehearsal. And it works because the same neural pathways are activated whether you're physically performing an action or vividly imagining it. Through visualization, you're literally training your brain for success. You can apply this same powerful technique to any area of your life. If you're preparing for a job interview, don't just think about it abstractly. Visualize it in detail. See yourself walking confidently into the room, making strong eye contact, answering questions articulately, and connecting with the interviewers. Feel the sensations in your body as you project confidence and competence. If you're working to improve your financial situation, visualize yourself making wise financial decisions, saying no to unnecessary purchases, investing regularly, watching your savings grow. Create a detailed mental movie of the life you'll lead when your financial goals are realized. The key to effective visualization is consistency and vividness. A few minutes of half-hearted mental imagery won't rewire your brain, but daily practice of detailed, emotionally engaging visualization will gradually reshape your thought patterns and consequently your behavior. Another powerful technique for mental rewiring is the strategic use of questions. The questions you habitually ask yourself shape your focus and your perceptions. Most people unknowingly ask themselves disempowering questions. Why does this always happen to me? What if I fail? Why can't I ever stick to my plans? Such questions direct your focus toward problems rather than solutions, limitations rather than possibilities. They presuppose negative outcomes and reinforce limiting beliefs. To rewire your mind for success, start asking better questions. Instead of, why can't I do this? Ask, how can I do this? Instead of, what if I fail? Ask, how will I handle setbacks and keep moving forward? Instead of, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this situation? These empowering questions direct your mind toward solutions, learning, and growth. They presuppose that success is possible and that you have the resources to achieve it. They put you in a proactive rather than reactive stance toward life. Make this shift in your questioning habit and you'll be amazed at how quickly your perspective changes. Your mind is like a computer. It will diligently work to answer whatever questions you program into it. Program better questions and you'll get better answers. A third technique for mental rewiring involves your physical state. There's a well-established feedback loop between your mind and your body. Your thoughts affect your physiology, but the reverse is also true. Your physiology affects your thoughts. When you're feeling defeated or discouraged, your body shows it. Your shoulders slump, your breathing becomes shallow, your facial muscles droop. This physical state then reinforces the negative mental state, creating a downward spiral. But you can interrupt this cycle by consciously changing your physiology. Stand tall with your shoulders back and head high. Breathe deeply into your abdomen. Put a slight smile on your face, even if you don't feel like smiling. Move with purpose and energy rather than shuffling or dragging yourself along. Maintain this success physiology for just 2 minutes, and you will begin to notice a shift in your thinking. Your confidence will increase. Your outlook will become more positive. Your energy will rise. This isn't just subjective perception, it's biochemical reality. Your posture and movement patterns actually trigger changes in your hormone levels, altering your mental and emotional state. Make this physiological adjustment a regular practice, especially before facing challenging situations. Over time, the empowered physical state will become habitual, supporting and reinforcing your new, empowering thought patterns. A fourth strategy for mental rewiring focuses on your language patterns. The words you use, both when talking to others and in your internal dialogue, profoundly influence your perceptions and beliefs. Consider the difference between saying, I have to do this, and I choose to do this. The first phrase creates a sense of burden and obligation. The second evokes personal power and agency. Or compare, this is a problem with, this is a challenge. One suggests something unwelcome that you're stuck with. The other implies an opportunity to demonstrate your capabilities. Pay particular attention to absolute terms like always, never, everyone, and no one. These terms often signal distorted thinking that amplifies difficulties and minimizes possibilities. "I always mess up important presentations" is likely an exaggeration that reinforces a negative self-image. A more accurate and empowering statement might be, "I've had difficulty with some presentations in the past, but I'm improving with practice." Also be mindful of "I am" statements which define your identity. There's a world of difference between "I am a procrastinator" and "I have procrastinated in the past, but I'm developing better work habits." The first statement makes procrastination part of your essential nature. The second treats it as a temporary behavior pattern that can be changed. To rewire your mind through language, become more conscious of your verbal and mental expressions. When you catch yourself using limiting language, pause and rephrase. This simple practice will gradually shift your perceptions and, with them, your reality. A fifth technique for mental rewiring leverages the power of your environment. Your physical surroundings and the media you consume continuously feed messages to your subconscious mind, reinforcing either empowering or limiting beliefs. Take an inventory of your environment. Do the spaces where you spend most of your time reflect the person you want to become or the person you've been? Are they organized and conducive to productivity or cluttered and chaotic? Do they inspire you or drain your energy? Similarly, assess your media diet. What messages are you absorbing from the books, magazines, television shows, social media feeds, and conversations that fill your days? Do they reinforce the mindset you're working to develop, or do they undermine it? Make conscious adjustments to create an environment that supports your new thought patterns. This might mean reorganizing your workspace, creating a dedicated area for important projects, or posting visual reminders of your goals and the empowering beliefs you're cultivating. It might also mean changing what you read, watch, and listen to. Seek out material that inspires and educates you. Surround yourself with voices that encourage growth and possibility rather than limitation and fear. Limit exposure to negative news and social comparison that can trigger self-doubt or anxiety. Remember, your mind is constantly absorbing and being influenced by your surroundings, often without your awareness. Make your environment a powerful ally in your mental rewiring process, rather than an obstacle to overcome. A sixth strategy involves leveraging the power of your social connections. The people you spend the most time with have an enormous influence on your thinking and your behavior. Their beliefs, attitudes, and expectations gradually shape yours through a process psychologists call social contagion. Take an honest look at your 5 closest associates. Do they believe in the possibility of extraordinary achievement, or do they settle for mediocrity? Do they take responsibility for their lives, or do they blame circumstances and other people for their conditions? Do they support your growth and encourage your ambitions, or do they subtly undermine them? This assessment isn't about judging others, it's about recognizing influences. Just as you'd be cautious about what food you put into your physical body, be intentional about the social influences you allow into your mental environment. You don't necessarily need to end relationships, but you may need to adjust their nature or the amount of time you devote to them. Simultaneously, seek out individuals and groups whose thinking aligns with the mindset you're working to develop. Join mastermind groups, attend seminars. Find mentors who exemplify the success you desire. When you surround yourself with people who think in empowering ways, their thought patterns gradually become yours. Their success becomes living proof that your goals are attainable. Their support provides encouragement when challenges arise. A 7th technique for mental rewiring focuses on your habits and routines. Your daily habits shape your life far more than occasional big decisions or sporadic efforts. What you do consistently, you become permanently. Examine your current routines, particularly at the beginning and end of your day. The first hour after waking and the last hour before sleep are especially powerful times for mental programming. Many people start their day by immediately checking email or social media, exposing themselves to others' priorities and agendas rather than setting their own. Many end their day with news or entertainment that fills their mind with negative images or trivial concerns just before sleep. Create morning and evening routines that reinforce your new thought patterns instead. Begin your day with practices that center you in your goals and your empowering beliefs. Perhaps meditation, visualization, reviewing written goals, inspirational reading, or physical exercise. End your day with reflection on your progress. gratitude for positive developments, and mental rehearsal for tomorrow's opportunities. Throughout the day, build in small habits that support your mental rewiring. This might mean taking brief breaks to reaffirm your goals, practicing mindfulness during routine activities, or pausing before difficult interactions to adjust your physiology and mindset. Remember that habits form through repetition. The first days or weeks of a new routine may require conscious effort and discipline, but persist, and these practices will become automatic, continuously reinforcing your new thought patterns without requiring constant attention. An eighth strategy for mental rewiring leverages the power of commitment and accountability. When you commit to a goal or a process publicly and create structures of accountability, you dramatically increase your chances of following through. This principle has been demonstrated repeatedly in studies of behavior change. People who keep their intentions private are far less likely to fulfill them than those who share their commitments with others and establish regular check-ins or progress reports. Why does this work? Partly because public commitment engages your need for consistency and integrity. Once you've declared your intentions to others, following through becomes a matter of personal credibility. But there's a deeper reason as well. When you commit publicly to rewiring your mind, to changing your thought patterns and developing new mental habits, you're making a statement about your identity. You're saying, "This is who I am and who I'm becoming." Such identity-based commitments have far more power than simple behavioral intentions. Find ways to build commitment and accountability into your mental rewiring process. Share your intentions with supportive friends or family members. Join a group focused on personal development. Work with a coach who will hold you to your highest aspirations. Create a blog or journal documenting your journey. The ninth technique for mental rewiring involves strategic discomfort. Growth happens at the edge of your comfort zone, not within it. To establish new thought patterns, you must be willing to experience the discomfort that comes with challenging established ways of thinking and behaving. This discomfort takes different forms for different people. For some, it's the vulnerability of sharing ideas publicly. For others, it's the uncertainty of attempting something new. For many, it's the psychological tension that arises when new thought patterns conflict with old, familiar ones. Whatever form it takes, this discomfort is not your enemy. It's a sign that real change is occurring. It means you're pushing boundaries and creating new possibilities for yourself. Rather than avoiding discomfort or retreating from it, learn to welcome it as evidence of growth. Develop what psychologists call discomfort tolerance, the ability to remain effective and focused even while experiencing uncomfortable emotions. Start with small challenges that stretch your comfort zone without overwhelming you. As your discomfort tolerance increases, take on progressively larger challenges. Each time you push through discomfort and discover your capacity to handle it, you weaken limiting beliefs and strengthen empowering ones. The 10th and perhaps most powerful technique for mental rewiring is service to others. There's a seeming paradox in personal development. The more you focus on yourself, the less satisfied you tend to be. But when you focus on contributing to others, your own growth accelerates. Why does this happen? When you're exclusively focused on your own improvement, it's easy to become self-critical, impatient, and discouraged by slow progress. Your attention constantly returns to the gap between where you are and where you want to be. But when you focus on serving others, on using your developing capabilities to make a positive difference, your attention shifts from self-evaluation to contribution. You become less concerned with your own limitations and more engaged with possibilities for impact. This shift in focus creates a more relaxed, confident mental state, one in which limiting beliefs have less power, and new, empowering thought patterns can take root more easily. It's similar to the way learning a physical skill often happens more quickly when you focus on the purpose of the movement rather than on your body itself. Look for ways to contribute value to others as part of your mental rewiring process. Mentor someone who's facing challenges you've overcome. Volunteer with an organization aligned with your values. Share your developing knowledge and insights through teaching, writing, or speaking. As you apply these 10 techniques, visualization, empowering questions, physiological adjustment, conscious language, environmental design, social connections, supportive routines, commitment and accountability, strategic discomfort, and service to others, your mind will gradually be rewired for success. Old, limiting thought patterns will weaken and fade. New, empowering patterns will strengthen and become dominant. But this transformation won't happen overnight. It requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to take the long view. Think of it as similar to physical fitness. You wouldn't expect to transform your body with a few days of exercise, and you shouldn't expect to transform your mind with a few days of mental practice. The rewiring process typically follows a predictable pattern. In the initial phase, the first few weeks of conscious effort, you'll experience what might be called the 2 steps forward, 1 step back phenomenon. You'll have days of clarity and confidence when your new thought patterns feel natural and powerful. But you'll also have days when old patterns reassert themselves, often triggered by stress, fatigue, or challenging circumstances. This inconsistency doesn't mean the process isn't working. It's a normal and necessary part of rewiring. Each time you notice an old pattern and consciously choose to replace it with a new one, you strengthen the new neural pathways. Even apparent setbacks contribute to your progress when you respond to them with awareness and renewed commitment. In the second phase, typically after a month or two of consistent practice, you'll begin to notice more stability in your new thought patterns. They'll become your default more often than not. You'll catch yourself automatically thinking in more empowering ways without conscious effort. You'll recover more quickly when old patterns temporarily resurface. This is the point where many people ease up on their mental practices, assuming the work is done. But just as a gardener doesn't stop tending plants once they begin to thrive, you shouldn't abandon the practices that have brought you to this point. Continue with your visualization, your empowering questions, your supportive routines. They're no longer remedial measures. They're maintenance for your newly rewired mind. In the third phase, after several months of practice, your new thought patterns become deeply ingrained. They operate largely below the level of conscious awareness, automatically guiding your perceptions, decisions, and actions. You don't have to remind yourself to think in empowering ways any more than you have to remind yourself to speak your native language. At this stage, the evidence of your mental rewiring becomes increasingly visible in your external results. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach become available to you, not because the world has changed, but because you now notice and act on possibilities you previously overlooked. Challenges that once seemed overwhelming now appear manageable. Relationships improve as your more positive outlook and greater confidence influence your interactions with others. These external changes further reinforce your new thought patterns, creating an upward spiral of improvement. Success breeds success, not just in practical terms, but in psychological ones as well. Each achievement strengthens your belief in what's possible for you, making the next achievement more likely. This is the essence of unstoppable success, not a temporary burst of achievement, but a self-reinforcing cycle of growth and accomplishment. A mind rewired for success doesn't just produce better results occasionally, it consistently generates thoughts, perceptions, and behaviors that lead to desired outcomes. But what about obstacles? What happens when you face genuine difficulties, setbacks, or failures, as everyone inevitably does? How does a rewired mind respond differently to these challenges? The conventional mind, one programmed with limiting beliefs, tends to interpret setbacks in 3 harmful ways. First, it personalizes them, assuming they reflect some inherent inadequacy or flaw. Second, it generalizes them, believing that failure in one area implies probable failure in others. Third, it permanentizes them, seeing them as fixed conditions rather than temporary circumstances. The rewired mind interprets setbacks differently. It depersonalizes them, recognizing that outcomes are influenced by many factors beyond personal qualities. It specifies them, understanding that a setback in one area has no necessary bearing on potential success in others, and it temporizes them, viewing them as momentary conditions rather than permanent states. These different interpretations lead to radically different responses. The conventional mind, facing a significant setback, often retreats into self-doubt, defensiveness, or resignation. The rewired mind responds with analysis, adaptation, and renewed effort. It asks, what can I learn from this? And how can I approach this differently? Rather than, why does this always happen to me? Or, what's wrong with me? Consider the contrasting experiences of 2 small business owners during an economic downturn. Both saw their revenues decline as customers reduced spending. The first, operating from conventional thinking, took the downturn personally as evidence of his inadequacy as a business owner. He generalized the problem, assuming that if he couldn't succeed in this venture, he probably wouldn't succeed in any business endeavor, and he permanentized it, believing the situation would never improve. These interpretations led him to withdraw emotionally and practically. He reduced his marketing efforts when he should have increased them. He became defensive with customers rather than more responsive to their changing needs. Eventually, he closed his business, confirming his negative expectations. The second business owner with a rewired mind responded differently to the same external circumstances. She depersonalized the downturn, recognizing it as an economic reality affecting most businesses, not a reflection on her capabilities. She specified the challenge, understanding that while her current business model was struggling, other approaches might be more viable. And she temporized the situation, viewing it as a difficult period to navigate rather than a permanent condition. These interpretations led to constructive action. She analyzed changing customer needs and adjusted her offerings accordingly. She found ways to provide greater value while reducing costs. She increased her outreach to existing customers and explored new markets. When the economy eventually improved, her business was stronger than before the downturn, with a more diverse customer base and more efficient operations. Same external reality, drastically different interpretations, dramatically different outcomes. This example illustrates a fundamental truth about mental rewiring. It doesn't make you immune to life's challenges, but it transforms how you experience and respond to them. With a rewired mind, setbacks become growth opportunities rather than defeating blows. Criticism becomes useful feedback rather than painful rejection. Delays become preparation periods rather than frustrating wastes of time. This shift in interpretation is not mere positive thinking or psychological denial. It's about seeing reality more completely and responding to it more effectively. The conventional mind, programmed with limiting beliefs, actually distorts reality by filtering out positive possibilities and magnifying negative aspects. The rewired mind sees both challenges and opportunities, limitations and possibilities, difficulties and resources. When you rewire your mind for success, you don't lose touch with reality. You engage with it more fully and respond to it more resourcefully. And that engagement and resourcefulness inevitably lead to better outcomes over time.